Hi all, I'm Nairi, this is Fly Little Birds, and this channel is all about fostering, adoption, childhood trauma, and today I'm going to talk to you about angriness, angry children. So if you're fostering or adopting a child, you'll probably come across anger, and if you're thinking of it, you almost certainly will. So I just want to say right at the beginning, this is just my experience, and I realise and recognise that everybody will have different experiences, but I just want to chat to you about mine. So this week has been a really bad week for us. So we're at home, it's holiday time, and we've had, my younger son is the one who struggles with anger. My older son is the one who struggles with being withdrawn. So it's the younger son that I'm going to be talking mainly about today. And we've had such a bad week, in fact, that we've had two major meltdowns, one near the beginning of the week and then one not too long ago. And in the end, we had to kind of start putting sanctions in place and start changing things. Now, what I want to say at the beginning, which I've said before so many times in my videos, is when it comes to therapeutic parenting, you still have to put boundaries in place. My advice to you is never change those boundaries, never change your decision. Don't be worn down by the situation, unless of course you think you're in the wrong, in which case you need to say sorry and change what you're doing. But if you believe that you've put the right boundary or sanction in place, then do not change it. Do not change it, because you will find that children will wear you down until you give in. But the problem with that, with our children, is they need those boundaries and they need to know who's in charge. And if you start changing what you're going to do, then they will keep coming back and they will kind of repeat those behaviours. So the first time it happened this week was really bad, as in I had to kind of shut myself away because the anger levels were so high and the aggression was so high that I needed to shut myself away. I won't tell you what my son called me, but I'll tell you it was an all-time low. It was an all-time low. Now, before you start going, well, you know, it's because of this, because of that, it is because of childhood trauma. He has that diagnosis, and it is because of that. And he's never been able to control or regulate his anger, never. So when we first had them, when they were 2 and 3, he would take hours to calm down, and we would try everything. So he wouldn't want to be kept close, he wouldn't want to be kept far away, he wouldn't want to be contained, he wouldn't want to be not contained, and we used to be our wits' end. But as the years went by, and obviously the trust built between us and them, and then we adopted our sons, and that's a long story, but it is on my channel if you want to check that out. Then over time we found our strategies, and our strategies are often touch and cuddle and hug and that type of thing. Now, you can't use those strategies when it's really at the apex of the angry aggression. And at that time, sometimes he won't take it anyway. It's almost like he needs to have the meltdown. He needs to let it out. Now, a lot of this will be wrapped up in the fact that he was having quite a lot of problems at school toward the end of term, and that now we're at home, it's kind of coming out. I think a lot of it would be around that. But dare I say it, most of it is because of screen time and not being able to regulate around coming off or losing or being at disadvantage on screen time or not having enough of it, which is never enough. Okay, one day I tried to see how long he would stay on the screen if I did not intervene, and how long it would take him to realize he was hungry. And you know what, he didn't come off at all. In the end, I just had to say, I think you need to have a meal now, you know, before you waste away. They're not the biggest of children, so it is what it is. Like, it is a very addictive thing, and I think for children like the children that we deal with, that addiction kind of rolls over into other things, and it is an escapism, and we all need escapism. I've got mine, you've probably got yours, whether it's a particular telly program, book, hobby, whatever whatever it might be. But escapism as it is also very detrimental to him in particular. And so we had to, when it happened the second time, and we're not talking about a little bit of disruption to the house, we are talking complete disruption. Like, there is nothing you can do or say. It's going to be screaming, shouting, throwing things, and it just goes higher and higher levels, because what he's trying to say is that he wants his own way, he wants longer on the screen time, he wants to go back on there, or there's a problem with the internet, or his brother's actually done better than him, or somebody else has done better than him, or he hasn't reached the required levels. It goes on, the list goes on. So this anger is not really centered at us, but we are the ones he centers it at. So it's not the reason, we're not the reason, but we're a nice kind of like sounding board. Sometimes, getting to the point of being a punch bag. I mean, we haven't had that for a long time. We haven't been hit out at a long time, but it wouldn't take much to go there, and I think we're seeing some worrying signs that it might go back there again because of some of the things that are happening at school. So, second time it happened, I'm just telling you to help you if you in these situations. We had to take the difficult decision to say no more screens for the rest of the week. And because he would maybe go from his computer then onto something else and go onto his phone and start gaming on there, and then maybe asking for a new game on there or downloading a new game, which will be rubbish, but he'll do it for a while and then get bored. It has the same effect on him. So we had to say no screens and just allow them a bit of telly time after tea. And my son, other son, we've allowed a couple of hours a day, so we've cut his down as well, because we noticed he was getting pulled into a lot of things as well. When we put that in place, he just went crazy, and we could have easily given in and gone, well, do you know what, no, okay, we won't do that. But we knew that if we didn't do it, the whole thing was just going to continue to escalate right the way up through the whole week, and that the whole week would be destroyed because of this screen time, and more importantly, one particular game. And I won't go into what that is, because that game might be different for different children, but one particular game. So the first morning was very quiet and very subdued, but then toward the end of the day, when he saw that his brother's time for going on for a couple of hours was coming, he started the anger again. And I said to him, I know you're thinking that if you are difficult enough, that because your brother's gone on, that we will actually relax us. And he said, well, I've been very, very good this morning. And I said, yes, you have, but you're not going back on. So again, we have a bit of a kick-off, but then he calmed down. And since then, we had quite a good day yesterday, and he's a lot calmer. And I must admit, my husband has taken them out today. We didn't go out anyway yesterday. We're just like, do you know what? We're just going to calm the situation down. Today, my husband's taken them out for a little while, because I've got probably more to do than my husband has over half term, and so he's taken them out and they're willing to go. Whereas what was being said to me was, all these things that we've been doing in and around screen time early in the week, they were rubbish. So even though we'd taken the boys out to some lovely places, they weren't paid places, they were the beach and out in the countryside, taking the dog, stopping for hot chocolates, they love that. None of that was good enough when this meltdown and crazy stuff was happening, because it was like, well, actually, no, I didn't really want to do any of those things. So I had to kind of say back to him what he was saying to me, and I'm saying to him, so what you're really trying to say, and I said, this is what I think you would be happy with, is to be left to go on your screens all week and just come off for snacks, not even meals, just eat chocolatey snacks. And just be on the screen all week, all day, till you drop into bed at night with chocolatey snacks. And he didn't deny that. And that's, unfortunately, that's my fear. And I'm not ready to let go of the boys yet. I do feel that after I was targeted in such a way by him, that I've backed off quite a lot and let my husband deal with a few things. So even though we had the boundaries in place, I backed off quite a lot. So even if I could hear them arguing quite a lot together, rather than going and intervening, I backed off, because I felt for my mental health I needed to do that, because I couldn't take any more. Like, I couldn't take him saying any more to me, because I suppose what I'm going to say as well is, if all you've got to worry about is well, not all you've got to worry about, but if you've got to just worry about your children and maybe anger, dealing with anger with your child, and you don't have any other responsibilities in life, which if you're an adopter or foster carer, that's not going to happen. You're going to have more responsibilities. If that's all you've got to worry about is kind of appeasing the anger and controlling it and looking at strategies therapeutically to get past that, then that's fine. But we don't have just that. We have 5 adult birth children with their own needs and things that we want to do with them and provide for them. So it's not just about trying to maintain enough strength and health for these 2 boys. It's also about the rest of my family. And I'm sure if you don't have other children, you have, I don't know, you might have elderly relatives, or you may have friends, or you may have house renos you want to do, or financial things you need to worry about. So it's never just about your adopted children or foster children. They're part of the whole picture. And so for my own mental health, I had to back off a little bit and say to my husband, okay, I don't think I can take any more right now. And I know that I'm lucky that I have my husband and we work together really closely. I do remember in another video maybe annoying someone talking about my wonderful mum and what she does for me, because I know not everybody has that. So apologies if I sound like I've got it all sussed and perfect. I don't have it all sussed and perfect, and there are times when my husband really can't cope, and for some reason I'm calm as a cucumber. I hope you know what calm as a cucumber means, and I can deal with it. And there are other times that neither of us feel we can. And my mum's not that far away. She doesn't really have them very often because she's nearly 80. So a couple of hours a week is all we have, but we'll take it. And sometimes my adult children will just have them for a couple of hours. Again, it never lasts much longer than that, but we'll take it. So yeah, there are times when we don't manage it. And all I would say is that if you're in the same situation as me and you have to deal with levels of anger or violence and aggression, or the verbal abuse can be just as difficult, then protect your own mental health. Don't think that you can necessarily do it all on your own, and just find any which way you can to take breaks and to find ways of backing off. But my only advice to you would be, if you've put a sanction in place because that behaviour you deem to be at the level where it needs to happen, then do not back down on that, because trust me, you will just be repeating the same cycle again. Now, I don't think that we'll ever get past the anger issues with my younger son. I don't think they will ever go away, because they are part of that early trauma, and we will do everything we can to help him. And he has had lots of therapy, and I'm sure as he gets older he will need to have more, but it is what it is. He has an anger problem and it's not going to go away, so we've just got to find ways of managing it. And we'll have to seriously consider whether we give that game back or we don't. We'll have to seriously consider what we do in the future for screen time and how rigid we need to be. And I don't think either Tim or I, when they're now teenagers, want to take too much away from them, because we know from our own experience, even with our birth children, that if you try to regulate everything your children do, if you try to help them steer away from every negativity, every possible thing they could get into when they're teenagers, there's still a chance that they will seek things out later, and there's a chance that they'll turn around and say, well, you never let us have those experiences, and so we feel we were overprotected. I mean, we've got 5 adult children, so we know that can happen as well. So we're not trying to steer them away from every problem, but I think when it comes to anger, if we know there's a trigger there, and that trigger is losing something, which then I think impacts and makes them feel rejected, and that then takes him back into the past. So it's some vibe he gets when things are not all going well and right and he's not winning. Now, again, I know other children might get that, but it's very apparent for both of the boys actually, but particularly this one. So that's the story of this week, and I just hope you appreciate that these are my experiences. The reason why I'm emphasizing that is because some of you know I've been writing a book, and I've let 2 people read that book. The first ones were adopters and said they thought it was amazing and they love it and they wish they'd had it, and the other was a professional who said, no, there's some misguided information in there, just make sure you say it's just your perception and your experience. So I'm like, oh, okay, so that wasn't taken on too well. So I'm still looking for people to read my book, by the way. So if you are an adopter that's hasn't adopted for long, so just a couple of years, or you're late in the process, I'm still looking for people to read the book. If you are a professional social worker or people who works with children, such as, you know, adoption, fostering, or childhood trauma, then as well, I'm happy for you to read it, as long as you're kind. And I'm not going to publish this book until I'm sure that it meets the need that I perceived that I needed, what I needed when I was adopting and fostering. So thank you for watching Fly Little Birds. Please check out my channel. You'll find therapeutic parenting on there, attachment, aggression, boundaries, lots and lots of different videos on there, but I'll link some videos about aggression and anger at the end of this video. Thank you.